So this problem asks to use the quadratic formula. Now there's two ways that you could have done this. First of all, you want to remember that whenever we're solving a quadratic equation, solving quadratic equations, you should always see if you can pull out a greatest common factor first. In this case, I'm looking at my quadratic equation and I can factor out a 2. I'm left with 2x squared plus 3x plus 6 equals 0. So notice that what I've just done is I've actually made my problem much easier because now I can, if I get rid of the 2 out in front, remember that constant doesn't play a role when it's set equal to 0. But when I get rid of that 2 out in front, notice that A is just 2, B is just 3, and C is just 6. Now, if you remembered that, it should have been easy sailing from there. If you didn't, which is what more than likely you didn't do that, that's okay. You should still get the right answer, but you have a little more work to do because you're dealing with bigger numbers. So let's do it with A equal to 4, B equal to 6, C equals to 12. And remember, the quadratic formula is a last resort. So if we had tried magic X, 12 times 4, I need two numbers that multiply to 48, add up to 6, you would quickly discover there are no numbers. Now it's easy in this case because it says use the quadratic formula. So we just gotta plug into this formula very carefully. Now I want to make a note of what many of you guys are missing. You're only putting the second part over 2a, like this. But that's not the formula. The formula is all over 2a. So I need you to extend this line to cover the whole numerator, negative b plus or minus, all that stuff over 2a. All right, let's plug in. So I've got x equals negative b, which is negative 6, plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c, which is 12, all over 2 times 4. You can't forget any step from the top or the bottom. Next. Okay, we're just going to clean up this guy. Anything we can, we'll rewrite the bottom as well. So I'm going to have negative 6 plus or minus. Now I got to do some calculator work because these numbers are so big. So 36 minus 4 times 4 is 16. And then 16 times 12, let me use my calculator. 16 times 12 is 192. So really I have 36 minus 192. And when I do that in the calculator, I get negative 156. So that's what goes in here. All over 8. Yes, it's doable without a calculator. I'm just being lazy right now. But again, if you had remembered this, it would have been a lot easier of a problem. Let's keep going. Okay, now that I've simplified my top and bottom, the next step is to break this down. Unfortunately, many of you guys did the work correctly, but then you left it here. Well, you're going to get few points because a lot of the work comes from simplifying this part right here. So let's go to the side. I need to, just like always, simplify the square root. So 2 definitely goes into 156 because it's an even number. And I'll be left with 78. And then 2 definitely goes into 78 because it's an even number. It goes in 39 times. 3 goes into 39 13 times, but now I'm done. So remember, we need to pull out the doubles. Here's a double. I'm crossing out and I write it only once on the outside. All the leftover numbers, they get multiplied right back on the inside. So 3 times 13, that was 39. Now, come back, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to do all of this work and then forget that you were dealing with a negative under your square root. So immediately when you see that, you should write I in the next step. Then we had 2 root 39, and that's how we'll write that, 2I root 39. And all I've done right now is I just rewrote that piece. So let's finish. X equals negative 6 plus or minus that, all over 8. Now once you reach here, there's nothing left to simplify, but we should break this fraction apart into two pieces. And here's what I mean. This is negative 6 over 8. And you're going to copy down the plus or minus 2i squared 39 over 8. That's what I mean by break it up into two pieces. I don't mean write it as negative 6 plus 2i root 39 over 8, negative 6 minus 2i root 39 over 8. There's still work to do because these can be simplified. So I'm showing the work right here. Okay, now we can actually look at this and simplify. Negative 6 over 8, that becomes a 3 on top of 4 on the bottom. The plus or minus stays. Now I want you to ignore the I and the radical. Those will not cancel. You have to focus on the real numbers in front, so 2 and 8. Well, the 2 becomes a 1, the 8 becomes a 4 if I divide them by 2. But remember, that 1 needs to stay up top, so you can either write this 1i square root 39 over 4, or just I square root 39 over 4, but you cannot write it as 4i square root 39. The 4 has to stay in the bottom. Okay, so this would be wrong. And this was the final answer. So why don't you try this one yourself and see how you do. We're going to use, 2x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals 0. All right, pause the video here and give it a shot. Okay, so I hope that you gave it a shot. I'm going to label my ABC because I notice I can't pull anything out. There's nothing that I can pull out from 2, 4, and 1. So A equals 2, B equals negative 4, C equals 1. All right, here's my formula. So X equals negative B, which is negative 4, plus or minus B squared. Remember, your B always goes in parentheses, especially when there's a negative. B squared minus 4 times A times C, all over 2A. Next, that's 4 plus or minus. Now negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16, minus 4 times 2 is 8, times 1 is 8. Okay, now we still have to simplify this part. So next step. Great. Next step, still have to break that down. So go to the side, do the waterfall or the ladder, pull out the doubles, and then multiply that guy back in. All right, so I get X equals 4 plus or minus 2 root 2 all over 4. Now you might be tempted to start canceling things out. Remember, that's not allowed. We have to split this up into two terms. So I get 4 over 4 plus or minus 2 root 2 over 4. Now, this works out nice because 4 over 4 becomes 1 over 1. I can just write that as 1 plus or minus. And here, remember, this guy does not cancel. You have to focus on 2 over 4. So 2 goes into 4 two times, but you have to make sure you leave the 1 on top and that 2 in the denominator. So the final answer is 1 plus or minus root 2 over 2. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Good luck.